Hey, everybody. Welcome to Rush Hour, presented by NY Giants Rush. Thanks for coming in tonight, joining us. I got Mike, the Truth, ready to hop in a second. I know. Thanks to everybody who listened to NY Giants Rush last night. You know, we're gonna recap a little bit of over the weekend or Monday night, since it was a couple days ago. But you know, we're ready to move on to Miami. So I'm gonna bring up some comments later, and we'll have. We'd like to get everybody's thoughts on what the situation is right now, what we're looking forward to Miami. So before we begin, let's bring the Truth in, and let's see what Mike has to say.
What's up, Chris? Can you hear me?
Now I can. Hey, Mike, what's happening?
Well, it's a pretty dark days right now for New York Giants fans.
Yeah, it's like they say, it's the gift that keeps on giving. We have some action today with Evan Neal. We were just talking before of what we have to look forward to this weekend. But I know you weren't on the show last night. Neither was I. We're moving on. But Mike, your thoughts from Monday night?
Well, listen, I don't want to show my age, but I really felt like I was watching the Giants of the early 70s. It really was very depressing. It just seems like any kind of feasible thing that could go wrong went wrong. And I'll tell you the truth, on that opening drive by Seattle when Walker got rolled over and he still kept on running.
Yep.
I really thought, I figured it's the Giants. They're going to say it's a touchdown. They're not going to call him down, but we got that call. But, it was very depressing. They only scored 3 points against a team that clearly so far is not very good defensively. We made them look so much better than they were.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more, Mike. It was disappointing. Once again, I will bring something. Oh, what is this? Okay, so let's go. We should have some comments here. Let's see who's in the room. I hope it's working. I'm not sure if anybody's in the room just yet.
Not yet.
No, not yet. You have nobody on your end? Okay. So, Mike, one of the things that I wanted just to touch upon was it's moving forward to Miami. It's unbelievable how at this time we still don't have a turnover, a takeaway on defense. I mean, the Giants are -8. I mean, this is going into the 5th game of the season. And we have -8 on turnovers, and it's unacceptable at this point. I mean, right?
Yeah. I don't think any Giant fan would have had this prediction. Maybe we would have said we'd be 1-3. Yeah, I'm sure. Look at the schedule, possibly, but not the way we have lost.
Yeah.
The games we have lost have been so lopsided. They really have.
Yeah, these damn night games, right, Mike? And hey, the Cold's in. So, hey, Cold, thanks for joining in. Darius, who's a regular as well. Thanks, guys, for jumping in. And feel free to leave comments and, anything you want to say tonight. But, yeah, these night games stink, and the turnovers is unbelievable. I mean, you don't see teams that make playoffs when they're in the negative differential. And right now it's -8. So it's really disheartening that this team can't even get a takeaway. So that's obviously one of the problems. And, going back to that Seattle game, Mike, we saw once again that the team just runs away from the running game. And you think, I know they get behind, and we had a chance on the 4th down and we didn't get it. They could have kicked the field goal. But I feel like, and let me see what you think too, Mike. It seems like Kafka just gives up on the running game awfully fast.
Yeah, we talked about that last time we were on. Stick to the system. Yep. Don't panic. And it just seems like he panics, almost like he's afraid of his job. He's afraid, that he has to air it out. And, who was making that? Troy Aikman made some good comments the other night when he was watching it and talking about how the Giants, how they don't adjust. And last year, wasn't Dable known for that, how well he adjusted?
Yeah, and that's what we saw last year. That was the big positive last year was, oh my goodness, what a breath of fresh air. Kafka, Dable, Wink, they all adjust. They halftime, right? We all heard after halftime was those big adjustments, but I don't know. We don't see it happening, right now.
Yeah, I like to just quickly Real Cold just made that good point.
Yeah, I'm trying to put that up. Yep.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch on now, and you and I spoke about that off air. I think it's a little bit of a both combination. Not to say talent, I'm just saying inexperienced. That's what I would use. I know guys are going to look and laugh at me if I make this comment, but the oldest and most seasonal veteran on that offensive line is Bredesen at 4 years. That is nothing, guys. When you're a professional football player, 4 years is a nothing. Some guys take long to develop, and I understand Neil's struggling and he looks bad, and I get it. And I just think that, especially not this year, you're not going to move him this year. But if they do decide, and we're going to talk about that too, you and I, possibilities. But when you got youth like this on the offensive line, you got youth in the secondary, Banks and Hawkins, you're going to see mistakes. You're going to see guys just not make the big play. It happens. You got to be patient, but I understand that it's hard to be patient when you're getting beaten up like this. It's very hard.
Yeah, and let's read what Cole just said. Is the bad O-line play due more so to bad talent or bad coaching? Probably a combination of both. I mean, you got to think Bobby Johnson is probably on thin ice at this point. Maybe not during the season if Dable will do anything, but I don't know about a shakeup right now. But you expected more from this offensive line just because last year they were serviceable, and you just thought, Schmitz was kind of the concern, and Neil, and Schmitz seems to be holding his own. But obviously the problems with Neil. Big hello to my old friend Joel Luzzy, who just jumped in there. Juan,
hey, Joe.
Harry. So there's Harry joined us.
What's Harry saying? Harry says, I tell you, Harry, if that's the case, you may not watch him until, oh boy, what game? Possibly until they get to 500, right? And we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put Harry's comment up there. But, this afternoon, NJ.com, and my friend Joel even sent this over to me and a few other people. And, you can't win against the fans in New York, right? And, Neil's a young guy. What is he, 24 years old? So let's just recap in case nobody heard what he said. I'm sure you all did. MetLife Stadium was full of booze Monday night. Giants right tackle Evan Neal was shown on the broadcast encouraging the negative noise, interacting with fans on the sideline likely. On Wednesday, he fired back at fans. Why would a lion concern himself with the opinion of a sheep? Neil told NJ.com. The person that's commenting on my performance, what does he do? Flip burgers or hot dogs and burgers somewhere. So it is kind of funny, but don't poke the bear, which is the fan base. I mean, these tickets aren't cheap.
You pay your salary.
We invest a lot in the merchandise and the jerseys, the hats. Hey, you'll never win against the fans. He needs to shut up and just don't engage, because it's just not gonna. He's not gonna win.
Yeah, I would like to think that somebody after that was learned that he had this comment, took him aside and spoke to him. I hope.
Yeah, Harry says I'm going to make an adjustment and not watch the Giants till they reach 500. Well, Harry, you may be waiting a couple years for that. The way things are going, we'll see you maybe in 2025. No, but seriously, yeah, that's the way we all feel, Harry, right now. Let's bring up this other comment too. I know we're moving along, but
that's right. The fans, they deserve it.
Yeah. There was another good one. We've been rebuilding the line, but yeah, as we move along, the one thing, with what I want to say about Neil is that, he's a first round pick. Obviously, I think the Giants aren't going to get rid of him. By all accounts, they probably believe he's serviceable somewhere, maybe at guard, hopefully. So I don't know. I didn't think they would make a change in season, because here's the problem. All right, so you move him the guard now. Who are you putting at right tackle? Do you want to roll the dice with Matt Pert? Maybe you do. I don't know. Or maybe Izzuto can play right tackle. He played left, but I don't know what's going to happen. But I do think, because he has a 4-year deal with a 5th-year option as a first-round pick, we're probably going to see him at guard next year if this continues. I mean, this is really this is bad. Giving up 7 sacks. His confidence obviously shot,
And again, I mentioned this a few weeks back. If they did move him to guard, it doesn't mean he's a failure. No. He could succeed there. But we'll see. And then if that's it, then they're going to have to make a decision on how they're going to replace that right tackle. Who will it be? Will it be a veteran through free agency, trade, or will it be a rookie? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up Joel's comment here. Joel makes a good point. I mean, we've been rebuilding for a long time,
3 years.
we've been rebuilding the line for at least the last 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
even
he's
longer,
right.
Joel, right? Of Eli's career and all of Jones. And good point by Joel, because at this point, and I know Craig touched upon it last night. In my opinion, what I'd like to see, if they do move forward with Neal, put him on the left side at guard, because that's his natural side when he played left tackle at Bama. So you got Thomas and Neal at left guard, Schmitz at center, right guard, competition, whether it's Azudu, McKeithen, or they bring somebody else in. But I think the right tackle spot, I'm tired of rolling the dice with these draft picks. We're done with this. Go get us. I'm not saying a Pro Bowl veteran, a veteran that can hold his own, somebody that's more than serviceable, that can play right tackle in free agency. And you try and you develop a tackle in the draft, that's fine, later rounds, and then you bring in a guard as well and let him compete. But yeah, I think we've dealt with this, and good point by Joel as well with Eli, right, Mike? At the end of Eli's career, we saw I want to say the happy feet, but Eli kind of getting rid of the ball, staring down guys, didn't trust the line. He would never throw anybody in the bus, but we saw a different Eli towards the end that was very un-Eli like in the pocket, right?
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Of course, we got 14 more games left, or 13 more games left, to see what happens. And again, Shane will evaluate and make decisions on personnels. But if we do that route with Neal, then I think you need to get a veteran at right tackle.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Mike, because you're such a big college, more so than I, like 10 times over. You're such a big college evaluator when it comes to the college players. When you saw Neal and you had Charles Cross and Guanu, these other guys, I mean, when you saw him play, I know balance and hand placement was kind of an issue, but did you view him as a guard as well, or did you always see him as a tackle coming out of college?
No, I didn't initially view him as a guard. I thought that he could. In fact, the scouting part was definitely his footwork was an issue, and I always said last year that he needed to trim some weight, get a little more leaner, work on his footwork, and he would do a little better. That was my evaluation of him, and he wasn't my first choice for the Giants if they were to take a tackle. I wanted the kid Izzy out of Carolina.
Okay. Oh yeah.
That's who I wanted, and but I haven't been following him, so I don't know how well or how bad he's doing in the NFL. But again, when you deal, especially big men like that, the game is so fast. The NFL is so fast, and some guys take longer to get the game to slow down for them. Some guys, they do it quickly, and they become instant stars in the NFL. There's no rhyme and reason. How does a 6th-round pick, adjust to the NFL so quickly and plays well, and he's a Pro Bowl caliber? I mean, it's so hard to gauge and figure that out. That's why really the draft is a crapshoot. It really is. All the evaluation, all the money they spend on with the combine, it's really a crapshoot because you don't know. You really don't.
Yeah. Mike, when Bobby Johnson came over from Buffalo, the offensive line coach, in every fan base, you're going to have your detractors. The fan base is 100% going to like every coach, but there were detractors with Bobby Johnson, say he really didn't improve them. And, we're kind of seeing this now. Once again, we touched upon it before, but he hasn't really elevated the play of these guys. So in your opinion, Mike, if this continues, do you feel like, and I want to say the fall guy, because, McGahee, the special teams has been horrible. Bobby Johnson, I don't think Wink is going anywhere, even though we have our questions right now of what he's doing with dropping guys in coverage. But if you had to point to those two guys, McGahee and Bobby Johnson, do you think they're on the hot seat and possibly one or both of those guys could be on the outs come end of the season?
Yes. To keep it simple and short and sweet, yes. Yes, I do. I don't think if the Giants continue this trend, and let's just throw out a number, guys. Let's say they finish 5-12. Okay, if this happens and the trend continues with poor offensive play and this, I mean, I think there'll be a lot of questions towards Dable not to make a change, a switch. You have to.
A shakeup, right? You need a shakeup.
Exactly. You have to shake up and do that. A team that has a losing record like that, you have to make moves. You're not showing the fans that you're committed to make change.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard different things about Bobby Johnson. I'm not sure of his philosophy as an offensive coach or what he actually, what his strengths are in terms of how he wants to coach the offensive line with hand placement or, getting off the ball. I don't know, but you can't cut 10 offensive linemen. So in my opinion, if this continues, Bobby Johnson probably would be the fall guy, and they'd go out and get another established, proven offensive line coach. It's a shame because we thought we were on, the up last year. Like we just had, as Giant fans, we just thought, hey, it's going to be positive moving forward with Bobby Johnson and his line. We're going to get better. This is going to be, and I know Andrew Thomas, he's not in the lineup, but still, we saw Seattle with 4 backups, and they did a decent job. They had their little hiccups here, but most part, they were able to move the ball. So, I mean, we give a lot of excuses, but other teams run into the same problems, and they get through it, and that's a problem. Let's bring up Chris D. Chris D, thanks for joining us tonight. The real undercover issues isn't necessarily O-line, it's depth. Good point, and this is something we thought they might have this year, actually. This is the Gettleman hero still screwing us. Yeah, I mean, we still have some of our, Gettleman guys. Lemieux's still in there. Pert. I got to say this about Shane and Dable. A lot of coaches would get rid of those old guys. They kind of gave them a clean slate to prove themselves, and in their eyes, they did their job in training camp, and they won their job. They could have easily gotten rid of them, especially Gettleman guys. So I do give them credit by using their eyes and their experience to evaluate them without being influenced by a prior regime. But at this point, I mean, Lemieux's terrible. Pert is, how is a Zudu who's really never played tackle? He had a cup of coffee at college in North Carolina, and now he's our swing tackle and starting over a guy Pert who was supposed to be our guy, coming in even at right tackle a few years ago. So it's really a mess. But all right, so moving on, let's just go over the injury report, bring everybody up to speed. Today the injury report came out. It's Wednesday. Tomorrow's the big day because that's Thursday and Friday, but Thursday's really their last real big practice. So that's when we see the do not practice. Tomorrow is probably the guys that won't play. By all accounts, Barkley was moving well today, so could be positive with him. But let's just run by the Giants. Shane Lemieux, groin, did not practice. Okay, did not practice. Schmitz, we know he had a shoulder. Ooh, he's up in the air for Sunday. We'll see tomorrow what happens with him at practice. Andrew Thomas, I've heard that it doesn't look good for Sunday. He didn't practice either, so I don't know. Maybe we get him back for Buffalo, but I'm not too optimistic about Thomas. Limited. Barkley with the ankle, Bellinger knee, Brightwell ankle, McKeithen knee, Aziz on the report again, hamstring. And he actually did well, right? 5 pressures. Evan Neal, we know about him. Actually, we don't know about him. Hand to ankle, so he's banged up, but he was limited. And Wandell knee. So, but anyway, that's what we're looking at. Going into Sunday. Not that it matters because we don't generate a pass rush anyway. Teron Armstead, their left tackle, he came out of the game against Buffalo last week, and he may not play. It doesn't look good. He didn't practice today. So normally I'd say, wow, the starting left tackle, Pro Bowler is out. We're going to have a field day. No, not necessarily, because we've learned time and time again, doesn't matter who they put in there against this defensive line, they still move us out of the way. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But I don't know. Moving right on. Go ahead, Mike. Jump in.
No. I was just going to say, let's now move on to Miami.
Yeah, moving on to Miami. First thoughts going against the Dolphins, Mike. What's your feeling going into this game? 1:00. It's not a night game, thank God. The forecast is calling from 83 to 85 degrees, sun in Miami, so it's not going to be 100. So that's good. But what's your first initial thoughts on this game?
Well, it could be an ugly game. You have the Miami Dolphins, who were really embarrassed by a division rival in Buffalo. And the Giants, of course, were embarrassed, two teams that are going to be really upset coming to this game. You know, who are you going to fear most? I mean, Miami. I mean, I think Miami is going to be ready for this game. The Giants better be ready on the opening kickoff, because if they're not, they could be behind by 2 scores easily before the quarter's done. They better be ready to play. It didn't look like they were ready to play this game against Seattle with 11 days off, did it?
Right. Yep.
So they better be ready.
Absolutely.
So, yep. So I'm listen, I'm a realistic person, and the odds of the Giants winning this game is going to be slim and none. But I just want to see effort. I want to see effort. I want to see guys putting solid pride and effort and urgency, which I don't really see collectively from this team.
Yeah. Mike, you said the key word, urgency, and that's where they're at. And because we have Inside the Numbers, the banner up, I'll just run by what Cold said and Darius. More Simmons, and I think we're getting to a point we're going to see more of him. I agree with you guys. Mark Thompson, hey, thanks for joining. Right. Yeah,
hopefully.
Right? I think so. I think with the urgency that this team is in. We'll bring up Mark's comment in a little bit. But let's just go inside the numbers.
Yeah,
what's that?
No, that Harry guy made a comment about fantasy football. I know we don't do that, but he makes a good point.
Go ahead.
He makes a good point. If you do fantasy football, take Miami's defense this week.
Hey, follow the Giants throughout the whole season of fantasy football.
There you go.
Probably do pretty well, right?
That makes sense.
Unbelievable, right, what we're dealing with. But let's just go inside the numbers a little bit and just look at both teams and what they've done so far into the season. Now, remember, the Dolphins, the numbers are a little skewed, obviously, because they just went absolutely bonkers on the Broncos. But let's just go to the offense, right? Let's look at the offense for both teams. Giants averaging, and you're going to, obviously, Giants are at the bottom of the list in every category. Big surprise. Giants, 252 yards per game. Yards, that's not passing, 31st in the league. Dolphins 511 yards, first in the league. All right. Actually 311. I'm sorry, they average 311. So first in the league, yards per game. Passing yards per game, Giants 158, very pedestrian, right? 30th in the league ranked in the NFL. Dolphins averaging passing yards per game 334. That brings them to number one. And I was wrong. I'm sorry. Total yards average, yes, 511. Going back to that first stat. That's what the Dolphins average total. Yeah. So, Mike, going off those two stats, looking at the Giants defense, when you see that number, 334 yards passing for the Dolphins, and we didn't see Hawkins in the game last week. I mean, we're going with 2 safeties, trying to keep everything underneath, make it like a slow, methodical death for us with Hill and Waddle. What's your thoughts on the passing game of Miami?
The Giants are going to have to figure out to not let this team go because they're going to go vertical. I guarantee you, Miami is going to take shots more often than not against this Giants secondary. I mean, I would be shocked if by the halftime they don't do at least 4 to 5 times. They don't try to hit the home run. I would have Hill out there and give me your best guy and see if you can cover me.
Yeah.
If they do, you got a bottle.
Right. We might see a little bit of a Patrick Graham type defense for the Giants where they just try, if you remember, Patrick Graham tried to keep everything underneath and not get hit by the big play. I think you got to play that way possibly, on Sunday and hope the pass rush gets there.
That's like, that's like being paper cut to death. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe the red zone, right? We could hold them out of the red zone, but, use the clock. I don't know. But, yeah, that's very scary when you have Waddle and Hill and even at Achane, the running back, who's pretty good, and Tua's been playing great. But, so we got the total yards, passing yards for both teams. Rushing yards, Giants, not bad. I mean, 94 yards a game. And then you look at Dolphins, absolutely blowing it out of the water, 177 yards a game, ranked number 1 in the NFL. Boy, this next one. Go ahead, Mike. What are you going to say about the rushing?
No, I said, just looking at this, if I'm the Dallas offensive coordinator, I'm looking at this, and the Giants, they give up 100. Well, you're going to get to that, but they're not really good against the run as well. So I'm looking at this, and I'm gonna say, boy, I'm gonna put together such a great balanced game plan where I'm gonna just tear them apart both on the ground and in the air. You know, he's gonna have fun putting together a nice little offensive game plan. The offensive coordinator, I can tell you that.
Yeah, McDaniel has he's very creative and smart guy. So a little quirky, but man, he's like a mad scientist in a way, right?
Yeah, he is.
So moving on to the real bad stuff, and it keeps getting better, everybody. Points per game. Go ahead, take a guess, Mike. Average for Giants.
Giants, well, listen, they got shut out one game. They only got 3 points yesterday, the other day. I'd be shocked they're in double figures. So I'll just say 10.
I'm going to shock you, Mike. 11, close. Giants are averaging points per game. I feel like this is, Clemson or Alabama versus, no offense against FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson here in Jersey, but that's like, I'm feeling like Division III versus Division I here, these numbers.
Yeah.
And Dolphins averaging, go ahead, Mike, what do you think?
Well, they got that 70-point one, so they're probably, I know they're first in per game, so in the 30s, has to be.
Yeah, 37 points average. Now, last week they came back to earn the earth, right? They scored 20 points against Buffalo. So, hey, that's pretty, that's definitely was good to see that this wasn't going to be some sort of a trend with them. They came back down to earth, although the trend may start again this weekend. Tua was, a good game, nothing crazy, 25 out of 35, 282 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So, yeah, he had a good game. Moving on to the defense. You know what? Going back to the offense real quick, Mike, before we move on. When you look at the Giants' offense, we're not taking shots downfield. Obviously, protection's an issue.
Yeah.
Are you of the belief that, hey, whether you have protection or not, put them on notice, the defense, and take a shot down the sideline? Worst case, it's out of bounds. But at least take some shots. Right, Mike?
Yeah. Yes, I think they have to. If Jones has to, a shotgun or a play action, roll out and go for it, just to possibly open or spread the field out a little bit. They got to do that because they can't keep throwing little dinkers all the time. Dinkers.
Right.
You see it. You saw the game. The Seattle was kind of inching their way up. They had no fear of the Giants going vertical. None at all. So
no, you're right. I mean, Mike, we haven't seen a screen pass since Tiki Barber. What's the best way to offset a pass rush? Throw a screen pass. I don't care if it's Dable, Kafka. I mean, how are you not throwing a screen pass? Now, granted, everybody will probably get an illegal man downfield or a hold, but at least try, right? I'm sure Brederson or one of these guys will be 10 yards down the field on the flag. Yeah. But give it a shot, man. I mean, throw some screens. I know Barkley's not in there, but you got Brightwell. Give it a shot. Who the hell cares, right? You got Brightwell, Gray, Breida. I mean, just go for it. I don't know. It's just, and we'll get into the philosophy with Dable and Kafka, that whole conversation in a little bit. But let's just finish up, Mike. We'll go into the defense. Opponents' yards per game. The Giants are giving up 341 yards per game. That's 19th in the league. Miami's given up a whopping, which is worse than the Giants, believe it or not. I mean, 374 yards. I mean, that's terrible. But once again, you're playing the Giants. We'll see if the Giants could do something and take advantage of that. So yards per game, Giants are actually a little better. Opponents' passing yards per game, Giants average 207 yards a game they're giving up. Not too bad. But once again, when you have a big lead, these teams they're running the ball, right? They don't have to go crazy and throw the ball downfield. They're just draining that clock and pounding the run. Dolphins giving up 251 yards per game in the air. That ranks them 25th. So, they can be had. Once again, we said this last week with Seattle. They have that cornerback, Coach Kohu. He's a cornerback who gave up 2 touchdowns to Diggs. Diggs took him to school. Yep. Once again, that's Stephon Diggs, right? Xavier Howard's on the other side. But we're talking Stephon Diggs. We don't have a Stephon Diggs, so to speak. But maybe the Giants could take advantage of a Kohu on the other side. Opponents rushing the ball. Giants are giving up 133 yards on the ground. That ranks them 25th. Dolphins, not great either. They're giving up 123 yards on the ground on defense. That ranks them 22nd. Opponents per game. Giants are giving up – if the Giants could just score points, this could be a shootout, but I'm not counting on it. Giants are giving up 30 points a game, ranks them 30th. Dolphins are giving up 29 points a game, and that ranks them 28th in the league. So there we are. That's some inside the numbers. But what do you want to add with those stats on the defense, Mike, when in terms of, do you have any faith that the Giants could take advantage of the Dolphins giving up 250 yards in the air? Or excuse me, how about this? Giving up 374 yards per game on offense to opponents. Do you have any positive feedback?
No, I don't. I don't, because they had the same situation with Seattle. Seattle gave up a lot of yards as well, and no one expected 11 sacks, 20 hits plus hits. You know, it starts and ends on the line of scrimmage. I know I say this a lot, and I'm not a genius when it comes to football. I think a lot of guys who listen to this podcast understand that, you know, you win and lose in the trenches, you know, from both sides of the ball. If you can have a dominant line, offense and defense, you're going to win games. It may not be pretty, but you're going to win games. And that's how the Giants used to win back in the 80s and even in the other eras. They just pounded the rock. And played good against the run. It's simple formula, and it works.
Yeah, and this is such a passing league, and when you get a Kafka and Dable coming from Buffalo, you know, they come from that pass first, run second, you know, type of philosophy, and we're kind of seeing that with Kafka giving up on the run. But yeah, this is a different league, different philosophy these guys do have, and it's a little different than what we're used to as Giant fans.
Yeah, you know what? If you're going to do that philosophy, then you better draft, sign, free agency, trade accordingly, so you have good, solid pass protectors. Because all the guys that they got, and I think we look at the stats, they're stronger as run blockers than they are pass protectors.
Yeah,
if I'm mistaken, right?
Yeah, we saw that with Azudu last year. That was a big. He's kind of a mauler. You know, pass protection is something they needed to work on. Yeah.
Right, and I tell you, and again, I know people are going to probably raise an eyebrow with this. I like the kid. I think the kid is going to be better than he's showing, and the same with Neil. I know people are going to be saying, "What are you, nuts?" But I just think he's only had 17 starts. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he's going to stay at right tackle. That's their decision what they want to do, but I think there's a place for him on the Giants' offensive line. I really, Chris, I can remember when they were so down on Andrew Thomas when he that first year. Oh my gosh, they bashed him. Yeah. They called him a high school player. They, you know, a lot of the fans on Twitter, you know, and he, you know, luckily grasped it and the game slowed down for him and he got better. You know, that's the thing about improving.
Yeah, no, you're right, Mike. I think one of the things that besides like some of the balance issues and footwork is that Neil played left tackle in college, and I think switching to that right side's probably affected him. It's just been another thing that he's had to worry about. So it's just, you know, the one thing, at least Thomas, when he came in, you know, he was primarily a left tackle and kind of slid into his spot, where I guess, you know, it's just been difficult for Neil on top of his issues with balance and footwork. Now he's got to put the other leg back where he's used to, you know, having the opposite leg on the left side. So it's kind of you know, it's kind of, I guess, throwing, you know, if you're a lefty, learn how to throw with your right hand, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I think they're going to let this run as far as they can. I mean, if they felt like Pert could do a better job, I'm sure we would see him in there at some point.
Yeah.
So that tells you right there, they don't think he can be better. But I think what hurts too, Mike, is that when Bellinger got out of the game in the first quarter, you had Cager and you had Waller, who aren't really blocking tight ends, you know, at all. So, and that there was no help for Neil, unfortunately. And yeah, it was, he suffered. You know, we saw it all on tape. It was pretty bad. But moving on, Mike, to a couple other things. Oh, you know what? Let's go over with Mark Thompson before we get into that. So Mark Thompson says this is our offensive line, left to right in terms of experience. Second year vet, rookie, second year, really a rookie. Yep. With I guess he's talking about Neil. Second year, they need to time together. Yeah, they do, Mark. But I guess the problem is when Thomas is out, it just compounds the issues, right?
Yeah.
And you had Glowinski, who was really supposed to solidify this line. Such a disappointment. So
At
now
least
you're scrambling to fill his
Zeitler.
spot, which you never thought, right? Zeitler, is that what you said, Mike?
Yeah, I said at least to replace the Kevin Zeitler. That was the idea of signing Glowinski.
That was
Not even close.
that was Zeitler would have been such a nice keeper, if they could have worked that out. I know they had salary cap issues, but yeah, man, that just that hurt losing him.
Chris,
sure.
I don't want to. I hate to go back, but let me tell you something. Listen, and I'm sure you could see our podcast when they did that with Zeitler, and then they had enough money to get a Dory Jackson. Okay, to me, they already have Bradbury. To me, having Zeitler was more important than having a Dory Jackson. And some will argue with me, and some will maybe good points. But for me, when you got a guy, an interior lineman like that, you just plug and play him, not worry about anything. How much? I mean, what was he making? $12 million a year?
Mm-hmm.
I think this thing was
right around there. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm with you. Mm-hmm. Joel makes a good. He has a question here. Thoughts on Isaiah Simmons? I didn't know. I guess that was PFF grading a 90.5 and only playing 18 snaps Monday night. I guess that's a little bit more than he played the week before, but I think we're going to see increase, Joel. I think the more he gets familiar with the defense and the more comfortable he gets, I don't think we don't have a choice at this point, right, Mike? It's urgency. It's all hands on deck. It's time to roll the dice a little bit more and be a little bit more aggressive, right, Mike? At this point, because we need turnovers and we need playmakers, and that's what. Isaiah Simmons, by all accounts, you tell me, Mike, coming out of college, did you view Isaiah Simmons more as a linebacker, a safety? I don't want to say even though he had 4.3 speed, a cover guy, but what did you view him as?
I viewed him as like a rover. The kid Zach Thompson for Carolina.
Yes.
Well, he was a safety in college, and they moved him to a linebacker, and he had a pretty good career. So I liked Isaiah Simmons out of college. Don't get me wrong, I really did. But obviously, that was the year that they drafted Thomas, and they needed a tackle. I wanted the kid out of Iowa.
Wirfs?
Yes, I wanted him, but but I certainly was not upset when we got Thomas. But I've been saying this for weeks that they stop with the training wheels. They could put a package together for Simmons where he could see more than 18 snaps. He's got to play. Like you said, he's a playmaker. They need more of that on the field. You put him and Ojolari and Thibodeau. You're looking at three playmakers that will cause havoc to an offense if they're used correctly.
And I'm going to say we're going to see him maybe for 40 snaps or 35 on Sunday, especially against the speed. We're going to need him on the field with that speed. What do you think, Mike? If you had to say we're going to double his snap count probably on Sunday?
Listen, if they double it, I'd be happy. If they get the 30s, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. You got to utilize his talents. And his talents, like I said, is not running downfield and chasing guys and tackling and see how fast he is. His talent is making plays in and around and behind the line of scrimmage. That's what you dread. That's what you're trading him for.
Yeah,
it really is. What is this? Mark's coming out with some.
Yeah, did that pop up on you? I was trying to put that up. Did it just hit by you?
Yeah.
There we go. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, read that one, Mike.
It says, who is a player we all thought we could do without most? Thomas. That LT position is key, especially with DJ. Thomas is a security blanket. Yes, he's absolutely right.
Yeah. That is
absolutely right.
The one person to not afford to go down. Obviously, we lost Schmitz. That hurt because that just shuffled the whole line.
He was your second best lineman, right?
Yeah, and it goes back to the other question before. I don't know if it was Christy or talked about the depth, right? The depth on this line. When you have guys still hanging around like Matt Pert and Lemieux from the other regime, and we can't have guys to beat them out, and we're shuffling guys in from the practice squad. Speaking of Justin Pugh, I give him another week and he'll be playing. What do you think, Mike?
Yes, yeah, I agree with you totally. He would be in the starting lineup more likely against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, we
more.
might see him at left guard, right?
Yep, and you know what? We were saying this too off air, Chris. We were talking
Yeah,
about this offensive line. They're young, and they need. And again, I still think they need to get a couple more additions and have these guys like Izudu and Makita, have these guys play, but not in starting roles. Let them grow and give them snaps in a backup role so they can grow at their own pace. And the talent level, you got to have depth, you got to have talent. And maybe that's the problem with the Giants right now. These poor guys are being thrown into the fire too soon. And they have no choice, the Giants, because nobody else to go.
yeah. It's bottom. It's bottom of the depth chart that you're grasping at players to just fill spots at this point, and they're just not doing it. There was another one. Well, if the good news, if we be okay, here we go. Chris D. I'm waiting for this other one to pop off, but Chris D says, well, the good news is if we beat either Miami or the Bills, we're still in it for 10-7. Oh, let me put this up. We're still in it for 10-7 or 9-8 by my win. Chris D, good job, man. I'm with you if that's the case. I don't know, but yeah. So looking at the schedule, Mike, and we'll get into the game at the end and what we think to happen and what the Giants should do. But let's see what Chris is saying right now. Give me your thoughts. These next 3 games: Miami, Buffalo, Washington.
Okay, so out of the 3 teams, the one that we all can agree on and that we have a best chance of beating is Washington. But Washington's not a bad team, guys.
Not at all. Nope.
They are not a bad team. They got guys who play hard, and if the Giants, in all likelihood, and I hate to be pessimistic, but if they lose these next 2 games, and there's a good chance they will, it's going to be tough for them to have that energy to play to Washington. It's going to be tough. I don't know. I'm not going to say they're going to give up, but it's hard. And maybe, Chris, I'm looking at this all wrong. Maybe it's a good thing the Giants play away now, these next 2 games. Get away from home field when they're not going to be booed. Maybe it might be better for them. I don't know, but the opponents is what creates the issue, not where that they're playing away,
Yeah, you hear that all the time, that sometimes you go on the road, teams come together. It's a 1:00 game. I mean, hey, good news, everybody. And I posted this today. The way this is going, we're going to have a lot of 1:00 games next year, which is good. So the Giants will rebound next year with those day games. But this is a 1:00 game. They're 0-3. And guess what? Next week will be a primetime game. The whole nation could see us play Buffalo, and we'll hear it the next day. So that'll be fun to watch. I'm just putting up Joel's comment. Should have held on to Nick Gates and let Lemieux go.
Perfectly, I absolutely agree with him.
So, Mike, you weren't at the event when we had the Nick Gates, the what do you call it? What do they call that with the kids with the clinic? They had the kids clinic over the summer. Yeah. One of the high schools. Nick Gates was there. It was his Nick Gates clinic with the young kids. And ironically, everybody who doesn't know, he was actually let go or released a week prior. So here he is, still honoring his commitment, showing up with these kids with all their Giant gear on, and he's there he's Washington. He signed his contract, so he's a Washington Commander, and we got him to the side, Craig and I. Now I could say because he's not on the team, so I don't care. We said, what happened? Like, we're so surprised that they kept him on the roster last year. He battled back. They didn't cut him or give him an injury settlement. He came back, ahead of time on his schedule. So you thought, boy, he's definitely going to be a depth piece, nothing else this year. Well, he said him and Shane didn't get along, and for whatever reason, Shane didn't think highly of him or didn't like it. There was some sort of, he said he didn't get into it, but he did say there was friction there. I don't know, that wasn't the word friction, but there was they didn't see eye to eye, and that relationship wasn't very good. And you know what he said? Shane had it in for me. That's what he said. Wow. Imagine that. And me and Craig were like, wow, he dropped that. Now, we wouldn't talk about it then, but now I'm going to talk about it, But so right there, I don't know, hey, that's interesting that he said that because, boy, Nick Gates he's playing pretty well in Washington, and that's definitely a guy that we could have slid over to center and guard during this whole mess that we're dealing with, right?
All three positions he can play.
Yeah, so great point. Great point, Joel. Christy says Pugh is just a warm body at this point. O-linemen are dropping like flies. You know what, Christy? You are right. He is a warm body at this point, but he's probably going to be better and serviceable once he gets up and running, better than what we have. So who knows? Maybe we catch a little lightning in a bottle. The running game gets going. He can pass protect and help, Jones step up in the pocket. I'm all for it at this point.
He's a Band-Aid over a cut. That's what he is.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe he surprises. We can't lose at this point. We're grasping at straws, but it's probably the best thing, right there, right now. Anyway, let's move on. Mike, give me your thoughts on Kafka and Dable, the whole talk, and then we'll talk about the Miami game and Giants and what we think is going to happen and how the Giants should attack them maybe. But a lot of talk about Kafka taking over plays. Dable's giving the plays up or taking the plays away. What's your feeling? What do you believe?
Well, watching the game, there's when they put the camera on him on Dable, sometimes you see him, with his pad over his face talking. I don't know if he's giving plays or maybe him and Kafka are going over it. But whoever's calling the plays, we said it earlier, they have to stick to it. And don't almost go in panic mode, because they were moving the ball pretty well when they were running it, and then had a couple of mixed little throws out there. I thought Breida played pretty well when he got the opportunity. I think he did a good job.
Yeah, I thought so too. If you had to make a choice, do you believe it's Dable calling the plays right now or Kafka, or both, like kind of talking in the headset and just yes, no kind of thing?
I think it's both.
Okay.
If I have to make a guess. That's all it is. It's a guess. I really don't know.
Yeah. I agree with you, Mike, and I think it's probably shared. And the reason is that I don't think Dable is solely taking over himself. Now, hear me out, everybody. The reason I'm thinking is when you go back to the Arizona game, I really do believe that Dable took over the play calling for that game. But we know that Dable is a stand-up guy. He's got integrity, and I don't think he probably chalked it up as, hey, bad game for Kafka. I wasn't sorry about that. I wasn't, I wasn't, he didn't want to pull it totally from it and just chalked it up at, hey, it was a one-off, And the reason I say that is because right now, and they may be sharing it, is because we saw last year going back to Tennessee, Dable with the 4th and 1 going for the win, going on a 4th and 1. I feel like Dable is aggressive, and we haven't seen that the last 2 games. And I feel like if it was Dable calling plays, we would have seen a shot taken down the sideline, right, Mike? They're not going downfield. Even though Jones maybe can't get a 3-step drop, at least take a shot in the sideline. At worst, it's an incomplete. But we're not seeing any shots, any aggressiveness. That's why I feel like it's still Kafka. Dable's in the headset. He's listening, maybe making a change here and there. But I think it's still Kafka at this point. And I don't think he wants to throw Kafka under the bus. But I do think if this continues, maybe there is an announcement that, hey, I'm taking over play calling. I mean, we see it every year with coaches. Yep. They announce it. But that's my feeling on it at this point. I feel like Kafka still has the control, and Dable's kind of chiming in here and there, but he's not really 100% calling the plays yet. So
well, my thing is, if whoever they decide to call a play, you gotta play Robinson more, because he did show some life and some enthusiasm and passion, and you got to get high in the game. I don't know how many snaps he had in this game, but I don't know. I don't understand why they're holding him back when the options are not so overwhelmingly convincing. Where it's not like they have a bona fide wide receiver that is a reason why they're holding back Hyatt. I don't understand. Maybe someone in here could tell me, what am I missing? Why aren't you letting this kid play? And he can easily do slants if you want to try to get a big play out of him. He doesn't have to always run down the field. So anybody help me out. I'm a defensive guy. Help me here. Yeah, no, good point on that. Because, after the Arizona game, we really thought we were going to see a lot more of him. And I think Paris Campbell,
I don't want to say it's all him, but boy, he's been a little bit of a disappointment, haven't done much. But once again, the whole passing game's been a disappointment. So I think they're going to tinker and start. Yeah, we might even see Shepard more on Sunday. I think Dable even said today they had plays for him. They just didn't get a chance to use him during the game, whatever that means. I don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
They have to be winning. They have to be winning to use him. They have to be tied. What does that mean?
This goes so deep with route running and guys getting open and press coverage. And I know Hyatt's had a difficult time on press, but I think at this point, like before, Mike, it's like you said, urgency. And I think Sunday we're going to see some different things because it's gotten to that point at 1-3. At 1-3, it's gotten to that point.
Lose, Chris, right? They got nothing to lose. Let's try.
They have nothing to lose.
Let's try some victory, right? Let's go for it on a fake punt. Let's go for it.
Right.
You got nothing to lose.
That's right. This season will officially be over. Not after these two games, because yes, we will be 1-5. But if the Giants were to lose to Washington, it's over at 1-6. It's done. It is done. So, it's like a nail in the coffin. There's like 3 nails in the coffin after Washington, after Miami and Buffalo, and then that final one, you're in the dirt.
6 feet under. 4 nails in the coffin
against Washington. Yes. But all right, it's 8:52. We're moving on. Let's hear your thoughts going into Sunday, Mike. What do you think's going to happen? Should the Giants, because they can pass the ball against, not saying they can, but they give up passing yards. What's your philosophy going into the game against Miami on offense?
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I think they need to have more of a balanced attack. They got to run and they got to throw the ball a little bit. They do. They have to. They got to try to control the clock because you don't want to have Miami to have the ball 38 to 40 minutes of the game, 35 minutes of the game. That's suicide for the Giants, and not that I think the Giants are capable of doing this, but you certainly don't want to get in the slugfest because you're going to lose to the Miami Dolphins. They just have too much talent, to try to do that. Giants. And you mentioned this like 3 times already today. They got to get turnover. They got to get some turnovers. They're -8, and they have not gotten 1 turnover yet.
Right, Mike. I don't know if the team's ever been made the playoffs if they were like -7, -6. There's no way. I mean, you got to be putting up.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I'd like to know if any team is like over -5 if they've ever made the playoffs. I can't. That's not a good stat. My goodness. Cold makes a good point. They need to use Waller better. Yeah, he's been invisible. 6 targets maybe the other day. Hardly a couple catches here and there. But yeah, I'm with you, Cole. That needs to be a emphasis on that. Defense-wise, I know you're a defensive guy, Mike. Give me your defensive philosophy going against Tua, Waddle, and Tyreek. How do you play those safeties? And do you back off? What are you looking at on defense against that? Chris?
That's a great one, Chris. That's going to be. I can see Wink kind of changing or deviating from his style. I can't, but they're going to have to get solid play from their secondary, at least contest and make these guys, if they do catch the ball, make them regret catching the ball. If you remember the Giants when they beat Buffalo in the Super Bowl, Belichick says we're going to let them catch the ball in front of us, but we're going to make them regret it. And they did. Playing physical does go a long way throughout the game. It makes these guys, even though they're professional wide receivers, they're going to think twice when they're cutting across and they got hit a few times when they caught the ball. It may make a difference. But the Giants got to amp it up. They got to play better defensively, physically. They got to be able to get to Tua. They got to be able to get him to throw too soon and get him out of his rhythm. That's a lot to ask for. And frankly, I don't know if they can do all that. I really don't.
Yeah. Leonard Williams has kind of been pedestrian. Haven't seen much from him. He needs to step it up. Dexter Lawrence has been, pressuring, hasn't gotten to the quarterback, but he's been okay. But, once again, like you guys have mentioned, that are listening to the show, Isaiah Simmons, Thibodeau had a good game. See more of him. And Azeez, big question mark. He practiced a little bit today, but we need to get him on that field and get in the backfield. And their running back's a good running back. So, set the edge as well and take the running game away, but a little bit of everything. But yeah, it's going to be a tough
I'm gonna make a bold statement here.
Yeah.
I know last week I did that, and you try to get me to commit. Even though the Giants did stop them on 3 downs when they were on defense. But anyway,
You're right.
I think the Giants should do this on the first play. I think they should, if Barkley plays, use Barkley as a decoy, like a fake, and then look for Waller to get him in the game right away. Get a little seam pass or
Get
a
him
little
involved. Yeah, right away.
a little down and out past him. That's a be big gain, like 7-8 yards, something like that, just to get him in the game. And those are your 2 most talented offensive players right there, Waller and Barkley. So I think something like that. I think the Giants need to do to let Miami know that they're here to play.
Yeah.
If not, it's going to be a long game.
Yeah, and you can throw on him and keep an eye on Chu, the cornerback. Kahu, the cornerback for Miami, so he can give up.
Go after him, right?
Yeah, go after him. And just to before we wrap up in a couple minutes, just a couple stats on that Miami offense. Tyreek Hill, 9th in the NFL with 28 receptions, 4 touchdowns, leads the NFL with 4 touchdowns. Achan, the 3 touchdowns, 6 in the NFL, 309 yards rushing. He's 6th with yards running the ball. And Tua, listen, he had that inflated game, but still he has over 1,000 yards already. 1306, first in the NFL, 9 touchdowns, which ranks him 3rd. And he did throw, I want to say I definitely threw 1 pick last week, might have been 2. Just a little sidebar, Ryan Mostert, their running back, he fumbled twice last week. And I know Achan's getting most of the carries, but Mostert, maybe we get a turnover on Sunday with Mostert. Ryan Mostert, he had 2 fumbles, so who knows? Maybe we get our first turnover. Win the turnover battle. I mean, we got a good chance to win a game, so we'll see what happens.
Is that your gut call on that one, like I did on mine? Is that going to be your
that they're going to win? No,
not to win. Just that would be that guy's going to make a turnover.
Yeah, unless they don't give it to him and they don't want to trust him anymore. And it's the journeyman running back. I forget his name. That's oh God, we got to look this up real quick. Their other running back who shares the carries.
Anybody know? Jump in there.
Who's the their other running back. Anyway, anybody know behind? Not Chris Brooks. I don't know. There's somebody else that they picked up. But anyway, it's by committee after HN. So anyway, I don't know. Give me a score, Mike. What do you think Sunday? Put you on the spot.
All right, and I hate doing this. You know that. I hate to be the pessimistic and bearer of bad news, but I think the Giants are going to give up 30 points at least.
At least. Wow. All right, we're in for it. So give me a score. What do you think? Do the Giants score some points?
30 to 13.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm being nice there.
Wow. Okay. So on my end, yeah, I'm gonna say Miami. They'll hold them to 28. I say Miami 28, Giants 17. They'll get a score. Looking at the Giants, last thing I want to say is when things are bad right now, it's never as bad as it seems. And just like a team that's on a roll and does great, they're never as great as they look either. It's kind of in between. So although the Giants are playing bad and the defense only gave up 17 points, although they did have a couple of those missed tackles on that Fant play on the sideline, I will say the defense is playing a little better, and they held the Seattle team to under 20 on defense. But yeah, I just I don't think they're as bad as we think they are and what I think they are. I actually am trying to tell myself they're not as bad. We'll see, but I think they'll be better on Sunday. I don't think they're going to win, but I think we'll see a little bit of improvement. I'm not confident that Thomas plays. That's not going to be good. Barkley, in my opinion, will play. But that's kind of where I'm at, Mike. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the comments. Chris has a real. He's worse than we are. He has.
Yeah, I don't have it right up in front of me. Go ahead. What did Chris say?
48-10, Miami.
Listen, at this point, anything's believable. Like with that shot, no, probably not. After what we've seen,
Mark B, 24-21 Giants.
Oh, well, who said that?
Mark B.
Well, what was the score? I got to find that.
24-21 Giants.
Wow, Mark B. I tell you what, that happens.
Yeah,
You buy me some lottery tickets.
If that happens, Chris will let you hang out with his tailgate party.
You can hang out anyway, man. Even if you're wrong, anybody wants to come by. I put Darius up. How are we not using Campbell, Shepard, Slayton, High? I know exactly, Darius. Come on now, he says. Yeah, that's exactly the case, man. How are we not using them? I know it comes down to a little time in the pocket, but still, we got to use these guys more. I guess we'll wrap things up. Once again, thanks for everybody, tuning in tonight. We couldn't have the show without you. I know we got NY Giants Rush coming back on Monday night. Thanks to the Chuck app for being our sponsor as always. And we'll be back here with the Rush Hour preview, whether it's me, Truth, or Mike, who just recently got married, Spartan Mike, or Craig. So, Rush Hour will be back next Wednesday. And Alex too. Yeah, can't forget Alex. You'll see him next week. And, we'll be previewing a Buffalo game, and who knows where we're at that point. We'll see if we feel a little better. Anything last call, Mike? Anything you want to add before we sign off?
No, I'll say like I said last week. Just show me some passion, urgency. Play a full 60 minutes. That's what I want to see. Yep.
I agree with you, Mark Thompson. I was believing $10 million a year for Zietler. That's what he wanted. They wanted to take a pay cut and give him $7 million. Okay. Yeah, looking back, to give him 10, right? I know there was a change.
Then he signed with Baltimore for $7 million a year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, really. Oh boy. So anyway, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. Thanks for tuning in once again, and all the new people that came in, like Joel, Harry, a few of the others. I think it was Manny. Thank you. I hope you continue to check us out on Twitter. You got Mike the Truth, obviously Giants Card Crush. Useless information on my Twitter. I'm always grabbing for different things. But thanks again. We appreciate it. It's like family here. And have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the 1 o'clock game. The Giants lose, we'll have the whole afternoon to watch the 4 o'clock game, 8 o'clock game. And by the time everybody goes to bed, we'll feel okay. It'll be out of our system. We'll be all right.
Well, it's tears, Lauren.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
See you guys.